Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL 44 coming at you another video. Good morning, good morning. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Independence Day is today for this country. And so we celebrate it with all of you guys here. And yeah, I'm here to talk about basketball. Of course, NBA basketball, free agency is going on. Summer League just started. Keegan Murray dunking on people. Jaime Jaquez dunking on people. Chet Holmgren blocking shots. It's been fun. It's been fun. I read somewhere just now something that was relevant to what we've been talking about. And one of the things we've been saying is Ben Simmons' contract in the Nets should be parting ways if at all possible. And I read somewhere, I don't know how reputable the source is, so I'm not going to say it's a Woj bomb or nothing real, but smoking is and where there's smoke, there's fire. And smoke is starting to brew around a 3-team deal between, take a guess, the Nets, the Blazers, and the Heat. This is the Dame deal we're talking about. Most definitely the Dame deal. They didn't say it was the Dame deal, but if you're talking about those 3 teams, that's the only thing they talk about right now. And the Nets are trying to finesse a way to get Ben Simmons either to Portland or to play with Dame in Miami. Problem is, they're only more. Here's my thing. And I don't know what's all going on behind the scenes. I don't know what prospects people are interested in, what future first rounders teams would be interested in, because I'm sure the Nets have something to float around. I think Miami could probably start giving away stuff in 2027, 2028 or something like that. So who knows what real deals are actually happening. But to me, at face value on the surface, it looks like the Nets are more so complicating Blazers in the Heat situation rather than being a good third team to come in and facilitate the deal. The Nets have a bunch of stuff that people don't want. That's why they want a real and deal. But the problem is, you got stuff people don't want. So how can you possibly provide value to a trade that involves needing to dissolve assets? That's essentially what they need to dissolve Tyler Hero into a bunch of stuff that the Portland Trailblazers want. The Heat need to find a way to make this trade, getting Duncan Robinson's contract out of there as well. So it's like the Blazers are sitting back saying both of these teams, the Nets and the Heat, have a bunch of garbage that I honestly don't want. Now, I can pick and choose certain things from both teams, but it's not going to add up to the value of Dame Lillard. Unless they throw in all kinds of futures. The only reason why the Nets would even be willing to take on that type of value, and this is what I need Dame to understand, the only reason why the Nets would be willing to take on that type of value is because they too are trying to build a team that's going to win now. So they, just like the Miami Heat for their own reasons, want to take stuff that's not valuable and dissolve it into stuff that is. That means that Portland is going to be sending out, I see, this is what I was trying to help people understand. In order to get rid of Dame, Portland, because of who they're doing business with in Miami and possibly the Nets, they're going to have to send out future picks and dissolvable assets because of the 3 teams. They're the one that has it. The problem is they're the one that's supposed to be taking the prize. And so what does my having picks have to do with these 2 teams coming together to give me the value for Dame Lillard? It doesn't. And so this is why they're going to have to get a 4th team, a 5th team, and a 6th team possibly involved, so they can find, all of these teams can find solutions for their needs in regards to dissolving contracts that don't help them. This is why we've been getting on the case of all these teams that are signing these bad contracts, because they're going to have these problems in a couple years. The Nets got to get rid of Ben Simmons. They were lucky enough to get off a couple contracts. Joe Harris is gone. But they still got to get that Ben Simmons contract out of there. Maybe even Claxton if they're not going to re-sign him for their cap situation. They then gave away $108 million to Johnson. They gave away whatever they gave to Bridges. I'm pretty sure it's maximum. The Ben Simmons contract as it is. So that right there is enough to cap hold your team. And 3 players. I said that's enough to really hurt. And so that's what needs to happen. They need to take Ben Simmons, turn him into a bunch of stuff. The Heat need to turn Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero into a bunch of stuff. And the Blazers are sitting here with this valuable piece in Dame, but he's not as valuable as his name should be because his contract is going to balloon to $60 million in the last 2 years. So none of these things that are floating around are really good. None of it. I'm just going to be honest. Not even Dame. The contract is bad. So it's not going to be worth as much as Portland thinks it's going to be worth. And in order to get back a good return, you're going to also have to give up something good in order to help those teams dissolve their crap. So this is why I'm telling Dame Lillard, like, brother, the only reason why they're going to do this trade is because they're afraid of looking bad for not sending you where you want to go. Otherwise, there is really no positive for the Portland Trailblazers in doing a deal with the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets. They don't have anything for them. They don't have anything. The Nets gave away a whole lot in regards to getting that Ben Simmons contract. It's worth very little, I guess is what I'm saying. It's eating a lot and it's worth a little. Now, they did get some picks back in regards to Phoenix's picks and stuff like that from trading away Kevin Durant. I'm pretty sure they have a nice war chest of picks in return for him. But actually, nah. That's not how that went. That's not how that went. Forgive me. They traded him away for Cam Johnson and Bridges. They didn't get any picks back. If I'm not mistaken, or not very many. If they got any picks, it wasn't many because Phoenix didn't have any picks to begin with. Which is why KD going to Phoenix was a frustrating thing for the Nets because Phoenix didn't have any futures to give the Nets a future with Kevin Durant's contract coming their way. The problem is the Nets weren't smart enough last year to even want picks in KD's stead. So they didn't have a problem doing a deal with a team that didn't have any picks and giving them back. But now look at the problems that creates for you. Now look where they at. Not wanting to bring back picks, giving away picks for Jermaine O'Neal. Now they want to get involved in this damn trade with the Heat and the Blazers, and they ain't got a damn thing to facilitate. All they got is problems to bring to the table. It's a God honest truth. Here the Heat talking about, okay, we need to turn Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson into something the Blazers want. They go to the Nets, and Nets talking about, okay, we need to turn Ben Simmons into something. What the hell are you doing? You ain't even a solution to this problem. You're not a solution to this problem. So that's really what it comes down to. I don't think the Nets, unless they're involving Mikal Bridges or Claxton, they don't really have anything that would make either one of those teams want to involve them in this deal, in my humble opinion. You don't have nothing. Are you involving the rookies you just drafted, Clowney and Whitehead? You know what I'm saying? Because when you start talking about the other stuff on that team, they don't really have many things you want at all. So that's what it comes down to. I mean, Cam Thomas, his value ain't, nah. What else? Royce O'Neal, free agent if I'm not mistaken. They still ain't re-signed. They got rid of a lot of stuff, man. Joe Harris gone, Curry gone. They didn't get nothing for those guys last year. They should at least trade them for a first round, second round pick or something. They didn't get nothing for them dudes. It came off the books. Season came and went. Value out the door. Yeah, Watanabe gone, ain't get nothing for him. It's like a lot of stuff just left the Nets that they could have very easily traded at the deadline and got a second rounder for, a couple second rounders for. It just not the greatest team to be trying to do business with if you need to turn a little into a lot or a lot into a little. They don't have either, and honestly, they shouldn't even be involved in any of these trades. They should be trying to do their own thing in regards to stretching Ben Simmons' contract if nobody will take it. That's really the only order of business if you ask me, if I'm the Nets. With all due respect to Ben Simmons, he ain't going to be playing the season with the Nets. Not if I'm running things. No, that got to come off the books now. Why? Because I know him at that value, I ain't going to be able to retrade him. Even if he plays a little better, ain't nobody going to cover that contract. Ain't nobody covered his non-shooting ways. It's not going to happen. So he has to come off the books naturally. And if you want to play that out, maybe he's addition, to your team because he can play defensive, talented player. But his holes are not meant for today's NBA floor. And we know that. If you can't hit shots in this league, you damn near unplayable. And so that's what I'm worried about with Ben Simmons. I don't think anybody wants to start the season with Ben Simmons because they're afraid his value is going to plummet from here. And that's just what the concern is. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But we weigh against concerns, not against what we cannot be certain of. So that's why I'm sure the Nets would love to move on from Ben Simmons in any way possible. Hell, I'd trade Ben Simmons to the Warriors for Chris Paul's contract if they'd be stupid enough to do it. I know they're not. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I get rid of it at all costs, man. I trade that thing for Duncan Robinson right now. Seriously. Because at least Duncan, I know Duncan Robinson's value is going to remain as it should be in this era because he's a 3-point shooter. This is what this era is about. I have no purpose for Ben's piece, man. That's what it really comes down to. I don't have a purpose for a guy that's not going to be able to hit free throws or shoot or will attempt threes in a spacing demanding era. To refuse to shoot threes, to not be able to mentally, it creates a lot of problems that no one else in this league is going to create because they're not going to be afraid to launch a 3-point shot if necessary. They just let it launch. You can be a bad 3-point shooter, but in this era, letting it fly is the difference in this situation. And so, because he has not overcome that demon, I don't see no reason for any team to really want him on the court at any price. That's where he's at. You got for me, Ben Simmons, until he proves himself, he's $1 million player, $2 million player. I'm telling you, man, his contract ain't gonna be that much better than some of the worst because that's what he's proven he's going to be in regards to a problem for me if he ain't shooting the ball in this era. You know what I'm saying? That's how much of a problem he is. I ain't gonna be able to play him. And so we talk about players like Christian Wood, who can't seem to get a team right now because of his defensive woes and the fact that he ain't giving you nothing on the defensive end to make up for all of that he may do on the offensive end. It's easy to sit him. So nobody wants to sign him at the price he's likely going to be at. We'd be happy to pay you $3-4 million, but 15, 20, what it is that you would likely want, there's no team in the league that should probably want to do that. So these are the type of things that a guy like him who a zero player, Ben Simmons, basically a zero player, guys that even though they have their strengths, they don't really, unless they improve upon their weaknesses, they don't even really belong in the league. And it's strange, it's harsh, but it's true. Them dudes going to be overseas, both of them, if they don't figure out how to contribute to a basketball floor in a positive way. So that's what I see in their futures, man. I ain't going to hold y'all. Both of those players, Christian Wood and Ben Simmons, are in risk of not being in the league, and they have to play good this season no matter where they're at. They're going to have to bounce back. So I'm just telling people the truth. And when I say out of this league, I mean this in a very specific to them kind of way. Are they good enough to play basketball professionally? Of course. They're better than a lot of people in the league at what they do best. It's just whether or not it's meant for this NBA. They're candidates to make a lot of money, and maybe even record-breaking money, overseas. That's what I'm saying. A guy like Christian Wood will end up overseas, but not in disgrace. He's going to get a big contract with Guangdong or something like that. Like Ben Simmons going to get a big contract in China. Like, it ain't going to be it's going to be like some Stephon Marbury type stuff. But nevertheless, that's what I see. I see those guys taking big bags overseas very soon if their careers don't rekindle and they don't improve their reputation as zero guys, so to speak. Everything they do on one end gets given up by them on the other end. I just don't get nothing out of it. And when the contract's bad like Ben's is, it makes it even worse. So that's what I'm at, man. As far as, like, I've seen teams do some stuff that I wouldn't agree with in regards to value, taking back stuff I don't think is very valuable. So I'm not saying what I think is likely going to be the rule. But as far as me trading for Ben Simmons, I don't think there's too many packages that I would be willing to get rid of for Ben Simmons. It's going to be stuff that I definitely want to get rid of, and I'm going to be taking back something that's probably going to be harder to move than what it is I'm getting rid of. When I think about, like, Julius Randle's contract, give me Juju's contract twice over. I don't want Ben Simmons' contract in his stead. Guys like Evan Fournier, keep the piece. I'll stretch the contract if I can't use it. If not, I got a piece that I can slip in and shoot some threes and sit down. Like, Ben Simmons is a player where, okay, he's in the game now. You got to make sure that what's around him makes sense for him. All that. And it's like, I don't have to do that for some of them other bad contracts. I can either sit them and be cool about it because our team ain't no better whether they're there or not, or I can plug them in where I see fit and get the most out of them for what it is I'm willing to do. But that's really what it comes down to with Ben Simmons. Ain't no way. I'm not saying he's not going to get traded here. Maybe Portland would be willing to take him. Maybe a third, fourth team would be willing to take him back. But believe you me, that contract is one of the worst to have right now. I'm only trading it for another bad contract that I'm likely less willing to part ways with. So that's it. That's the only way you're getting rid of Ben if you're Brooklyn. And because all of this is in place, I'm talking you even more just for the fact that all this is in place. If I'm going against Brooklyn,
that cloud itself is going to cost them. It ain't just Ben Simmons' problem. It ain't just Ben Simmons is a problem. It's that you have the problem that is Ben Simmons. You're gonna get double docked, leverage wise. You know what I'm saying? It's like not only does your problem cost you, but so too will you having a problem cost you. Yeah. So that's why leverage is so tricky. That's why you don't take on Bradley Beal's no trade clause. That's why you don't let Ben Simmons come your way in exchange for James Harden. You keep James Harden because James Harden is less of a headache, even in under those circumstances, than bringing back Ben Simmons. And that's exactly why Philadelphia allowed you to do it. It's exactly why Daryl Morey was so quick to let go of Ben Simmons, because he knew this would be the only chance he probably get a chance to get rid of Ben Simmons. If they didn't move Ben Simmons in that Harden deal, Ben Simmons would still be a Sixer right now. Kid you not, because ain't nobody else taking that, and we gonna find that out right now. Ain't nobody else taking it. Like I said, their best bet is Golden State. And the Chris Paul contract, that's the best bet they got. And unfortunately for them, Mike Dunleavy thinks that Chris Paul is a good replacement for Jordan Poole. I think people are crazy, and I think people need to be fired quickly in Golden State before things get worse. That's what I think. If you want to know the truth, I think Mike Dunleavy need to be out as fast as Myers is. That's what I think. And from what I've seen, the Corey Joe signing, maybe you trade him at the deadline for cash consideration. Like a guy like that don't have no value, and you're a team that's losing value. Why the hell are you signing him? Things I need to understand when looking at the Golden State Warriors that I just don't get. But I tell you this, even they shouldn't be willing to take back Draymond Green. I mean, not Draymond Green, Ben Simmons, who is Draymond Green, which is why I got him confused just now. But at least Dre has rings, and Dre is definitely willing to shoot the three. Now, whether or not it'll fall, probably not. But he'll shoot it, and that literally is the difference there. So that's what I got to say. I think of a team like Dallas, who would probably be able to utilize a Ben Simmons without it hurting so much because of the presence of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But do I really want to ruin their spacing just so they can fit a piece that doesn't fit anywhere on their team? The answer is hell no. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that for a multitude of reasons, but none more so than the cap. Beyond all else, I don't need Ben Simmons eating up cap when I got Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the roster. I would love the idea of them boosting the defense even more so, but not with a player who's going to hurt him on the other end just the same. Nope. But when I start to canvass where the hell Ben goes, I can tell you it ain't there. So I don't know, man. He's going to have to come back and prove himself on the Brooklyn Nets as somebody who's willing to shoot the ball, somebody who can get back to a high level, somebody who can defend and rebound and get to the cup. He has to improve from the free throw line. Regardless of what happens next, his free throw shooting has to get back up to about a 70 level. If he stays bad, it's going to be bad for him. And so that's where I'm at with that, man. I don't have any interest in taking on that contract for any team I got going on. So just good luck to all of those teams involved in trying to move their contracts. They're all finding out that their stuff ain't worth what they thought it was. Tyler Hero ain't as coveted as people think. Dame Lillard's contract is as bad as I've been saying it is. And that's where we're at. I do believe that the Miami Heat are going to have to move Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo to get Dame Lillard. I really believe that. I think they're going to try, but unless somebody agrees to something they got no business agreeing to, Jimmy's value got to come into this equation. I'm just telling y'all the truth. There's going to be some people that ain't going to like what I have to say here, but it ain't got nothing to do with what I want. It has to do with what is going to require to get this deal done. And I'm telling you, Bam Adebayo, the problem with Bam Adebayo is the same problem with Ben Simmons. And then we ain't talking about nothing on the court. We're talking about a contract. Bam Adebayo's contract makes it so that you can't trade him for everybody. Anybody that has the same contract he has can't be traded for him. Remember we had that problem last year when the Nets were trying to move Ben Simmons? Can't move him here because that guy's there. Can't move him there because that guy's there. That is still the problem with Bam Adebayo's contract. So he can't go where certain players is at. And that's why you can't necessarily move him. At the negotiation table, and I'm saying this out of sheer just speculation or ignorance because I really don't know, but it seems to this brain here that is parallel to dealing with the leverage disadvantages of having someone with a no trade clause on your team. Because essentially, the idea when I come up to you with you having a no trade clause over there, is me saying because you can't move everything that you have, it strangleholds me to only have certain options in regards to negotiating with you. I can only take that, and that. Maybe I want everything, but you don't have everything on the table, and it ain't necessarily because you want to keep it. It's because within the provisions and the collective everything, bargaining agreement, you can't move this player while I have somebody that I got on that same contract on my team. So that limits what I can do with you, thus you being a problem for me because you're limiting my options in the market by way of not having the option of something you have open available to me. So I dock you for that. As a guy on the other side who says, yo, I have an open market here. You want to do business with me, but some of your stuff is untouchable and it ain't your fault. I don't like that. I don't have to like that. And what you have isn't worth everything it's supposed to be worth because everybody else I go to don't have that problem. So when I go to the negotiation table with so-and-so other team, their entire thing, what they have is available to me. No trade clauses, no Bam Adebayo contracts. So when I come to them, the leverage against you that they have is that everything we have is available. So they're going to price what they have in such a way that's going to be outbidding you because they have the leverage over you at the negotiation table. So that's the science behind not wanting a Bam Adebayo contract, not wanting a Ben Simmons contract, not wanting Bradley Beal's no trade clause or anything like that strangleholds part of my war chest away from the field that I'm dealing with in negotiation. I want that off my books. I want anything like that off my books unless it's attached to a player that's a cornerstone for my team. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want no trade clauses messing with my leverage, and I don't want none of them funny contracts messing with my leverage. See what I'm saying? So because of that, when it's time to make Bam Adebayo a trade target for a Portland Trailblazer team, I don't want that piece. Ben Simmons, same exact deal. Definitely don't want that piece. So it's like, this is why Miami's a terrible team to make the deal with for the Portland Trailblazers, because they got that Bam Adebayo piece that is not covetable. So, again, people need to understand this, including all parties involved, Dame Lillard especially. I don't think if the Portland Trailblazers trade you to another team, it's a sign that they didn't respect you or want to send you to where you want to go. I legitimately think that you're tanking their franchise if they take back what it is Miami's willing to give them. And if that's your intention, then everything you've ever said about being loyal to Portland goes out the window with that one move. Your entire legacy there is out the window because you forced them to send you where you wanted to go at the expense of what was best for them, which is basically what this was all about. You doing for them what it is that would allow them to get out of a hole. You're putting it back in a hole if you make them take on some crap. And so that's what Dame needs to understand. I don't think that Dame, judging by what I've seen, I think a lot of things weren't necessarily privy to Dame while he was making decisions that he thought were good for his money situation, for his career. And things that he thought he could stand on as a player in regards to being loyal to his team. I don't think he knew what it took within the circumstances to keep loyal to that team while getting out of it what he should. He went about it a way that did not allow him to play the chess game in such a way that allows him to be on top in the end. That's the key to it all. His intentions was great. He wanted to make a lot of money. He wanted to stick with one team in an era where that was shunned. But that's the key. That's the key. Dame needs to understand something. The NBA is in control of a lot of things. And one of the things is your path when you choose certain directions. This wasn't Dame's thinking. This was the way the maze sends the subject in various different directions. You sign this is what's happening now. You sign that, this is what's happening now. And so this is the type of stuff he got involved in when he signed a massive contract with a team that had very serious financial cap hold issues. And that's what the Trailblazers were throughout the course of Dame's career. A team that had a lot of cap issues, and he stuck around and kept signing onto that team during that era where they couldn't bring him what they needed to make him a contender. And the stuff they were doing on top of that wasn't extraordinary, so they stayed average. They didn't move the coach. They didn't get better players, and they couldn't necessarily get better players because of that strangle cap hold, whatever problem. They got out from under that last summer. For the first time in like 6 years, they had the ability to use their mid-level exception and all types of stuff that only them in this entire league couldn't do based on how far over the tax they were for previous collective bargaining agreements of the last era. So they could not meet Dame's veteran expectations of being on a win now team. Remember, we say every team has a responsibility to keep their win now timeline so that their vets can have an opportunity in the championship. The Blazers, the Portland Trail Blazers, were not financially in a position to meet those expectations for Dame Lillard. And to me, based on what I've seen, he was cognizant of that. And the plan was to get him right on the end of that process, which was last year. Get him right, meaning bringing him a team that can win a championship, allowing him to finally have all the talent that they could not bring him because of their stranglehold situation. He's been waiting 7 years for them to be good enough to do what it is they're capable of doing right now. Without anybody really knowing the story, I don't even think they ever told the story. I just put 2 and 2 together and brought it to this channel. But I'm telling y'all, that is what it is. They're supposed to be making Dame whole right now based on probably an unspoken agreement or under the table agreement for him to help them through that era. And it wasn't a mistake because all of it needed to happen. But the question is what does it look like to do right by Dame right now? That's what Dame needs to be able to see what doing right by him actually looks like in 2023. It ain't sending you to the Miami Heat. What you want ain't right for you. You want to live in a city. That city doesn't have a good basketball team attached to it right now. That's it, bro. That's what it is. And Dame Lillard needs to understand that it is not any other way about it other than him wanting the wrong thing. And because he wants the wrong thing, if he doesn't get that thing, he going to feel like he's been betrayed. But no, the only betrayal is sending you there, bro. The only betrayal is what your wants want. That's the betrayal, is you wanting to go to a stranglehold franchise that can't do nothing for you. Bro, you've been in that situation for 7 years. That is not where you're trying to go. And see, these are the things that players need to be schooled on. No, they don't. A lot of these players, they're not paying attention to the crap I'm paying attention to. They're paying attention to their craft. They're getting better at basketball. They're not getting better at GM stuff. That's for armchair GMs who can't play basketball like me. That's why they need me to tell them, yo, this is what we're looking at, bro. Nah, you don't want to go to Miami, fam. You don't want to go to Miami, not because it's not a good city, not because they don't have good culture or a great coach. They got all of those things. But the asset class, when you get there, will not be very talented. You're going to be playing with more bad players. You're going to be playing with more guys that can't get it done in Miami. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go to retire, just retire now and move to Miami. Why the hell you got to play basketball there? You feel me? If you want to enjoy the experience, don't sign up for a bad one. And that is what I'm telling Dame Lillard. You got to get schooled on how all of this crap lines up so that when player movement takes place, you're not becoming a problem for the team that's trying to move you, thus making it impossible for you to move. I wish Dame was paying more attention to what went on with Kevin Durant last year. Kevin couldn't get moved and locked up the whole trade market, the whole financial market in the NBA. Not only him, but it's also the other stuff that was going on with the Rudy Gobert situation that also strangleheld the market as well simultaneously. But he contributed to a massive lockout, so to speak, in regards to the trade market, because nobody was aware of what price tag to put on anything when a player like that demands to go to a specific place, which he did. He wanted to go to Miami or Phoenix, right? So that's what I wanted Dame to go back and study, because it's like, bro, not only did he make it so that he couldn't get moved right away, he made it so that nothing could get moved at all that summer because he demanded out and wanted to play in a team that didn't have nothing in return to give him. You strangleheld the Portland Trail Blazers into basically not being able to move you by demanding that you go to one spot. By demanding that you go to a spot that doesn't have a good return, you're not forcing your way anywhere. You're forcing yourself into a holding pattern. You know, you're not demanding a trade. You're demanding to be stuck there. That's all that equates to. And we learned that last year with Kevin Durant's trade demand. So it's like, Dame's he don't know the game he's playing, it seems to me. He don't understand some of the things that are most necessary to understand to choose a good spot in this league. And he's never moved teams, so that may not be something you need to think much about. But now he's in this position. There's things to know before moving. There's things to know before even talking about moving. Because once you tell people you're ready to move, that affects the price tag on you and thus your ability to move. And that's why paying attention to the moves around the league is important for all of these players and these coaches to understand, everybody involved, owners, etc., because these things will determine whether or not you're making a good decision when asking out, when demanding out, when using your leverage, when assuming you have leverage that you may not have, that could ultimately dissipate once you decide to do so. These are things that you guys have to be, they got to know, and they got to have people in their corner to help them understand it. And if they don't, you can make certain mistakes before you get a chance to realize they're mistakes, and it'll be too late. And that may be what's going on with Dame. He may be stuck in Portland. He may be stuck in Portland in the way that KD was stuck last year in Brooklyn. For the same exact reason. They just can't move you. He's trying to go to the same locked up team that don't have nothing in return. And so this is when I was like, yo, I'm going to say this in a way that I hope is received well, but I'm going to blurt it out because it's exactly how I feel. I think the overall player community needs to evolve in regards to understanding the movements of the NBA. If y'all ain't becoming a part of that game too, you don't really know the fullness of what game you're in. That is just as much of a science as what's going on in the court for y'all once y'all become professionals. If you don't understand some of this stuff, like this guy can't be moved for that guy, I can't make a trade demand because it's going to stranglehold the team that's trying to trade me. I can't just go to any old team because once I get there, they may have to deplete everything to get me if it's a trade, or they may not have what they need if I sign for a certain amount. All of this stuff needs to be in your mind, just like your three-point shooting percentage, because if you don't have that, you're going to be making moves all yellow belly like you don't know what's going on, and you're going to be doing damage and messing up your reputation, and people are going to be saying you ain't loyal. People are going to be saying you don't know what you're doing. And that is exactly what's happening to Dame. The NBA and the player movement is not what LeBron made it seem. That's what I want to say to Dame. LeBron made it seem like it was something that it was not. You can't just demand the hell out. You can't just leave and go and expect to be able to land where you want to. And teams are going to trade the first overall pick to bring in a guy so you can run with him. Like, that type of stuff is not ever going to happen again. It's never going to happen again. And it's not going to happen for somebody over the age of 30. They're not going to move from heaven and heaven's people for you. They're not going to do that. It don't make sense to do that for you, Dame. At this stage in your career, it don't make no sense. So I know what you're owed by the Portland Trailblazers. I know the Trailblazers weren't in a position to take anyone other than your successor. It's not like they wanted to do that. They would have been very happy to take Brandon Miller, but the Charlotte Hornets wasn't going to do right. So it backed the Portland Trailblazers into a situation where they had to draft Scoot Henderson. Now, could they trade Scoot Henderson? Of course you can trade Scoot Henderson. That's always an option. But the Portland Trailblazers are making decisions that don't make for a good win-now team around Dame, and that's why he ultimately needs to get the hell out of there now. Once they signed that Jeremy Grant contract, that showed me that they're far away from a championship as anybody at the bottom of the cellar. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere because they're not good enough to get there up top. Their front office is not who they need to be. So it shows in the move. Nurkic's contract is proven. Letting Watford and Ebanks proven. All of these things should never happen. So Dame need to get the hell out of there for that reason. Not for no other reason. You know what I'm saying? Because if he stays there thinking they're going to build something around him, he's out of here in the first round. They're not going to build anything. And so if I'm him, it's like, look, if I'm trying to leave that situation, I'm not trying to go to the similar situation just because it's in a better, hotter, warmer city. What the hell? Miami's going to give you the same problems, bro. They don't have nothing. They got even less than Portland does. They don't have a Shaedon Sharpe. So it's like, bro, don't go there. Don't think that teams want to break up what they have to facilitate this trade. You know, a third team, fourth team. Don't think anybody's going to want to get involved, dude. They don't. Not unless they can get some garbage off of their team. Because otherwise, why don't they just go after you themselves? A team like the Nets would love to have Dame Lillard. Why are they going to help the Heat get Dame Lillard? Unless it absolutely benefits them, as to which they need that Brand Simmons contract out of there. So it's like that's what ends up happening. And we mentioned this yesterday. I'm not helping you get Dame Lillard. I need Dame Lillard. 9 out of 10 teams that are going to be the third team be like, bro, I'm not helping the Heat. A team that has a worse trade package. Right? Because if they didn't have this problem, they wouldn't need me, third team. Well, I'm going to help them get Dame Lillard when I got a better trade package to get him myself. Unless I got LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton, it ain't too many point guards that I'm not going to look to replace my point guard with Dame Lillard. It ain't too many. Granted, the Lillard contract does throw a monkey wrench in that, of course, but we're talking about for player. Some of these contracts are $260 million contracts. If it ain't a guy that I like that much, he probably would getting traded for Dame Lillard if my point guard situation, with my point guard situation. It's Dame, but at that same time, he only want to go to Miami. he only want to go play with the Heat. He want to go play with Pat Riley in the Heat. So this is what needs to happen if he wants to go play with Pat Riley in the Heat. The God's honest truth, this is what needs to happen. They need to trade Bam Adebayo for whatever they can get for him in the form of picks. They need to trade Jimmy Butler and whatever they can get for him in picks. They need to trade Tyler Hero for whatever they can for picks. They need to get Duncan Robinson the hell's contract out of there. Then they can acquire Dame Lillard and bring to him a real team. Because without that gunpowder, so to speak, without those trade pieces, those draft equity, high value pieces, there's nothing for Dame to come to when he gets there, and there's nothing to trade for Dame at all for the Heat. So that's the reality of the Miami Heat. They don't have anything worth a damn except for those three pieces: Bam, Jimmy, and Tyler. And they only want to move Tyler. So I'm telling you, unless the Portland Trailblazers just want to help Dame get where he wants to go above their very own future, because that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to be in the toilet for a very long time just to make Dame happy, just to assure that Dame's career ends the way that he wants it to end elsewhere, away from them. I'm telling you, Dame, if you're watching me, the more I speak of this, the less it makes sense for the Blazers on all levels, brother. And I'm going to need you to know that when they decide to hold out and not play you and not trade you. Because these are the same folks that love you to death. Nothing's changed. It's just that what they're looking at honestly does not make any sense for them, man. You want them to hate themselves to love you, brother. That's exactly what this is. And if that's what you've been about with Portland, then there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to want to see you happy, because that's the opposite of what your brand has been about the whole damn time. Now, I do believe that Dame is being pushed out of Portland by way of Scoot Henderson's presence. I don't think there's a role for Dame Lillard in Portland if he wants to stay. So I want people to know how sad this should be considered in regards to what it is I'm saying. This is a sad situation because he's being pushed out. But at that point, you can't choose a situation that's going to be just as bad for the same exact reason. Because when you get there to Miami, you're the best trade piece they got, Dame. You're going to play one season with that team, and then Pat Riley is going to trade you, because that's what's going to make the most sense to give them the leverage to be as good as they need to be, because Jimmy's likely going to be a piece they want to keep. Bam, again, can't move him. Tyler's gone in this deal. So when it's time for them to fix their problems, they're going to trade Dame Lillard. And so these are the type of steps. It's like, yo, you think like me, you already see that before anybody even opens their mouth. Dame needs to be able to see that before anybody opens their mouth too. It's like, bro, you ain't going to retire at Heat. You're going to retire somewhere else. They're going to have you retiring a Spur or Maverick, anything. They want to, anywhere. They're going to trade you somewhere when they realize that what they've done in bringing you there didn't make them as good as they need to be. You don't have the leverage you've had in Portland all this time, bro. You're going to turn into a damn journeyman. You're going to turn into a journeyman, Dame Lillard. Telling you, bro, you're already in your 30s, your late 30s, not even early 30s. You're going to play for a different team every year if you get traded to the Heat. Tell them the truth, man. So these are the things that people need to be willing to tell people. I know that, you know, this is one of them situations where I'll be like, man, sometimes it really does pay to have friends that are not in your arena. People who are not going to say, yes, man, yes, because it benefits them to do so. You need a brother like myself who ain't getting a dime from nothing, who don't know nothing, who's just looking at something from afar saying, yo, I've been paying attention to this thing from afar my entire life. And what I'm telling you is, you're not going to a place that's going to make you happy. I don't think any of Dame's buddies who get to benefit from his wealth are going to necessarily tell him anything that he ain't going to want to hear. And that may be what's been going on and why he ain't prepared with right now. Because he seemed like he's got good intentions, but no information, no understanding. It's like, brother, you are putting your legacy and your name on the line and your word on the line. But this is what I've said about something else. It's not. It just parallels what we're talking about. You can have the best intentions in life, but if your intellect or what it is that you're paying attention to doesn't allow for you to make good decisions, then it's going to translate to you having bad intentions anyway. People are going to look at you and say that person they weren't for the betterment of the team because they didn't know exactly how best to put themselves in a position to make the right moves for that team. All right? He want to be loyal to Portland, but everything he's done is put him in a position to not be loyal to Portland. That's because he didn't know how to be loyal to Portland. So it's like, that's what it is. And I'm not saying intellect is in his mental, it's smarter. No, it's just about information and understanding. You got to have that information. You got to have people schooling you on this understanding so that your intellect can match your intentions and that people won't see you as disloyal because you didn't back yourself into a corner by not knowing what you needed to know to execute your best intentions the right way. This is that, in my opinion, and it may be because people was afraid to tell Dame, yo, hey, nah, this what you want ain't probably what's best for you, man. How about we take a look at this option? It just seemed like it ain't enough of that. Or, Dame, look, this is why you don't want to go for a trade clause. Check out KD. This is what we're learning here. What KD went through, blah, blah, blah. This is how it's going to look for you next season if you try this. Those people just don't seem to be there. They're not there for Dame. Or he ain't listening to him. And so this is when you got to know, like, yo, the context from how best to move so that your intentions turn into their best result is missing, and somebody needs to school Dame Lillard and his team on how best to maneuver for the rest of their career from here on out. Because he wants to go to a Utah or a San Antonio. That way you have more leverage in the room so you can stay there longer. So you're not finding yourself jumping around from the Nuggets to the Pacers to the Wizards. Like, that's how his career about to go on some Russell Westbrook, because nobody's gonna want that contract. On some Chris Paul, because nobody's gonna want that contract. You're gonna be moving teams every 3 months, fam. You start off thinking you're gonna go to the Miami Heat and finish your career there, boy. You're gonna be there 6 months. If things go completely wrong, they'll trade you at the deadline, Dame. You got to know what you're getting involved in now that you start getting traded once. Trade. You've always been a guy that's never been traded. You've always been a guy that's had the leverage. This is my team. Everything that comes here got to go because of me. Everything got to stay here because I want it here. Nah. Once you go to somebody else's squad, you go into Miami, that's Pat's team. That's Pat Riley's team. LeBron James himself couldn't usurp that. So it's like, are you sure that's where you want to go? When you're used to having everything go your way in Portland, you control kind of how it go, and you know everybody's owing you because you helped the team. Nah, that ain't what's going on in Miami. They for the Miami Heat, and you're a new guy. So the first thing I'm gonna do is love the 2 guys that have been here for the last 7 years, helping me get to Eastern Conference Finals and Finals every year or whatever, and tell this new guy that came in with that ugly contract, salute. Thanks for what you've done for the league, but I appreciate you even more for what you're doing for me and getting me back a bunch of these picks that I can never get for everything else I have. That's exactly what I'm going to say to Dame Lillard if I'm Pat Riley about a year from now. So, look, Dame, go to Utah. They got more picks than enough picks. They can trade everything but you and still be happy with a win-now team. That's how much equity they got. You go to Miami, the only thing they can trade is you. I'm telling you, man, these teams, these players, they need they entourages and the people that they love the most to be on top of this kind of stuff. They need to be thinking like I'm thinking so that they can push their mans in the right direction for the path of his career. That's why I like what Austin Reeves is doing, because he see the path. He ain't gonna lock himself into a $170 million contract in his developing stages. He gonna end up like Duncan Robinson and Jordan Poole. No, and you can still make that money on the back end with a more successful career that lasts longer. The risk is there. Maybe you don't get the money, but look at Dame's path. Where is he going to be able to live up to all this crap he's been talking about? Every player that teamed up with everybody. He going to go down as the biggest hypocrite of them all. Because at the end, he just couldn't take the fire of his own situation. And that is not how that actually went. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's what I wish Dame would have understood all them times he was talking about all these players that want to move teams. Bro, that crap doesn't matter. Why? Because they will trade you at the drop of a hat. I got to say this because I really believe it. Our man Dame was sitting in a position of privilege while he was challenging everybody else who had more difficult paths to not leave circumstances that weren't half as suited for them as his was for him. Now he's feeling what it is that they felt. And now he has to maneuver without having the foundation of a team that's set for him and try to maneuver around this market that ain't easy to maneuver in. Dame was a young guy. It's easy to be critical of others when you ain't experienced nothing. But now he's experienced something. He understands why his critical energy ain't on. It wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Getting on people for moving teams, getting on KD, getting on all these guys. It ain't hit right when you start experiencing certain things that force you out of your comfort zone that's fit for you. That was never something that they have the privilege of enjoying. So while he was in a situation that wasn't very good for himself, he was under control. It was under his control. It was meant for him. The whole city was behind him. He had the loyalty, crown on his head. Everybody looked at Dame as the realest dude in the world and was going to for sure finish his career in Portland. And we told him the whole time, like, bro, that ain't how this work. We told him the whole time, like, bro, you being critical of people, but I don't know if this going to end the way you think it's going to end. And would you not be better for getting to be friends with some of these dudes who've done these things so that if you ever have to go through this, you won't find yourself in what you're going through right now? Instead of looking at them dudes like, them dudes, I'm different. Yeah, but now you don't know what they know. It ain't been through it, and you ain't really that close to them, and now you're going through hell, and you're trying to go to places that they didn't already been to. And already went through that in those places, literally in some cases. And it's just like, yo, no, Dame, no. And people learn from Dame, bro. You got to know where you're at before judging people. Like, I got privilege. I got a circumstance that's meant for me, so I get to be loyal in this circumstance and look like the loyalist guy ever in this circumstance. Maybe if I got drafted next to Russell Westbrook and he taking 100 shots while I'm only taking 50, maybe I would want to get the hell out of there, and maybe my options would be Golden State. You know what I mean? And super teams too. When he was getting on KD, maybe if you were in his situation, you would literally have to do the same damn thing. And maybe if he was in your situation, he'd be sitting back smoking a cigar talking about how disloyal you are. You see what I'm saying? But when we have our self-righteousness and our teaching and our training in our life, and we've been told what's righteous and what's not, but we ain't necessarily looking at circumstances, why certain things are the way they are. You know what I'm saying? You just run your mouth and they talk about people now. When you go through it, they laughing. They sitting back, yeah, now you get to see how I go. Yeah, you calling cupcake, all this, that. It's like, bro, that's why being critical of others don't really hold the weight that young people think it does. Because once you start going through certain things, and you get older, you start seeing those things, and you start understanding the position you're in for why you didn't have to go through that in the first place. It's like, damn. So that's why, if I was in a situation, maybe I wouldn't be able to stand on what I stood on all this time, because the only reason why I was able to stand on it is because of the foundation that was underneath me, for which I didn't necessarily control in the first damn place. Damn. That's all it is. And it's like, yo, Dame, now you got to go through this, bro. Ain't nobody trying to trade for your contract and giving up anything valuable because you signed the biggest contract. There's another thing. It's like, yo, why the hell did you sign that? You know you were eating up the whole cap. So that means that other people on the team going to be looking at you like, why did you eat up the whole cap? That means anybody that you trade to, their teammates going to be looking up saying, this dude's coming and eating up the whole damn cap. You didn't have friends and advisors telling you the cons of taking that money? And so these are the type of things I'm just like, Dame was just putting his chest out I'm Dame Dollar. I'm going to get my generational wealth. I'm just like, bro, there is a consequence to that, and it's going to leave you having looked like a hypocrite for everything that came before it, and it's just not the path to take. That is not the legacy this man been trying to build in Portland all this time for it to end like this. Just for another guy who wears number 0 to come in and push him out, it's like, whoa, if that's what all that critical energy gets you, if that's what all that pointing fingers looking at everybody else saying they shouldn't be moving gets you, I don't want to be that. I don't want that path. Not for my son playing the NBA. I don't want that path. We can be as rich as we're going to be, but I don't want you to have to walk away betraying all of what it is that you stood for just so that you can get out of a situation that you really do need to get out of without any choice to you. You ain't even got no choice. But they for sure gonna call you a cupcake. They're gonna for sure bring up every last one of them times you was critical of everybody else. They gonna for sure look at you and laugh and say, look at Dame Dollar, he couldn't stand on it in the end after all. When the only thing he should have really been standing on is being humble in the circumstances of appreciation for a Portland that was dedicated to him the whole time, however flawed they were. And that's really what it is, man. That's exactly what I got to say about that situation. I think we all learn lessons through other people's lives. And while Dame is going to be in a position to buy us, everybody who's watching me a house, he stood for something that I don't know he's going to be able to stand on for much longer. And that is, I don't move teams. I'm the most loyal dude in the world. Everybody from my generation, a bunch of guys that are friendly, and I ain't about that. Well, how does it end, fam? It ends with you begging to get the hell out of there and you not being able to get to where you want to go because it don't benefit nobody but you to go there. In fact, you don't even benefit from going there. You don't even benefit from going there. When you get there, you're going to realize they don't have nothing. Just like Portland. So, if Dame is listening to me, if he listened to this for the last hour, I assure you, the only thing I want Dame to do, only thing I want him to do is go to a team with a lot of assets, fam. That's the only thing you need to do is take your 4-year contract and go somewhere where they can absorb it without it eating too much so where they don't have to necessarily retrade it. That's the only thing you should really want. Get me to a Utah, get me to a Boston, get me to OKC, get me to New York, get me to anywhere where they have a full plethora of draft first rounders to trade. And assets that look good around me so that when they start thinking about stuff they need to trade, they aren't necessarily thinking about me first. That's the only damn thing he needs to be thinking about because everything else is going to have him moving teams very soon, regardless of where he goes. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching.